Howdy, I'm Jace. I have sex addiction and I work with a whole lot of other people who do too. Are they all promiscuous perverts and pedophiles? Is that what sex addiction is? That is what we are going to be talking about in today's video. Before we get there, make sure to subscribe to support this channel and continue having free resources for everyone who needs them. I hope they are helpful to you, and stick around to the end of the video where I'll be offering you some other great stuff, all in line with recovery for sex addiction. Now, is everyone who has sex addiction a promiscuous person or a pervert or a pedophile? No. Those are all very different things, and sometimes they join together, but that's not what sex addiction is, just as it doesn't go the other way around as well. Do some people who have sex addiction act out in promiscuous ways? Yes, that does happen. Are there some people who live life in promiscuous ways that don't have sex addiction? Yeah, they are not one and the same, but sometimes they are, but not always. Are there people who participate in behaviors that we as a society have deemed unacceptable or unsafe or just not okay? Yes. Are those people people with sex addiction? Sometimes. Sure. Yeah, for sure. There can be some real weird stuff that goes along with sex addiction. You better believe it. Anytime somebody acts out in society in a way, in a sexually deviant way that goes against what we've agreed upon, does that make them a person with sex addiction? No. Nope. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Same with any area of what we've deemed to be sexually deviant, whether that's involved in a kink or a fetish or legitimately un-okay behavior, non-consensual behavior. Sometimes people that engage in those things have sex addiction, sometimes they don't. Sometimes something else is going on. Sometimes with regard to kink or fetish or behaviors that we might think are weird but are actually pretty cool, they're not even unhealthy, let alone sex addiction. It is really easy for us to just blend everything together and to just say like, oh, that's them and they have this problem. And everyone who has this thing is also these other people, or it shows up in these ways. But that's not what's going on. As with any area of addiction, there can be a wide range of how that shows up. And the area of sex addiction, it's even weirder because our sexuality is so closely tied to our humanity and our divinity, and it's a whole big spectrum. It can show up in a lot of different ways, including not ever even having sex at all. So that's weird, right? And we talk about that more in another video. The point is, sometimes those things go together, sometimes they don't. We've got to start looking at them openly and without the shame and judgment, which I know it's not easy, if we're going to do anything about them. And if you're like me, you want to live in a world where we have people that are safe, that are healthy, that are fulfilled and happy, that have everything they need to thrive and to show up as loving, contributing members of society. That's the world I want to live in. That's the world I want to participate in, that I want to contribute to personally. And we're only going to get there when we can just start openly talking about this, because it's there, right? Sexual reacting out is there. There are sexual deviant behaviors that are out in the world, some harmful, some not. There are sexual offenders, sexual offenses, let me say, that aren't helping anybody, that we definitely want to eradicate, right? And we're only going to be able to do that when we start looking at it. So let's try to not label things, and let's just pull all of those apart and look at the person as a person, because we are, even if we're acting foolish, we're people. And there's a whole lot that goes before any of that behavior. And you can check out, we have some videos about that as well. and we can start actually dealing with it, but we got to bring it into the light first. And a big part of that is reducing the stigma by being able to just have open conversations around it, especially those that are science-based and spirit-led, which are my favorite kind. That's what we do on this channel as well. I hope that answers your question. I know that's a confusing area, and the answer of it depends isn't people's favorite one, because the brain really likes certainty and concrete conclusions because that feels safe. But that's not realistic with people, right? We're very complex. And when we're talking about malfunctions of the human condition, like addiction, it's even more complex. So that is an area that just has to be dealt with case by case, but no, they're not the same thing. And if someone is engaging in those behaviors that are unsafe or unhealthful, and they have sex addiction, that doesn't excuse the behaviors. It might help explain them, but it doesn't excuse them. So we want to deal with what's actually going on underneath all of that, really get to the roots of it, instead of continuing to point at the fruit of the tree and be like, that fruit is bad. It's like, well, it's going to just keep happening until we deal with the roots of the issue. And we can do that in a loving way. I really think we can. And I know we can, because I've been met with that myself as I've been a public speaker in this regard. So you can play your part, and you're doing that by getting educated on the different areas of this weird and sometimes gross area of addiction, which is very much a real thing with all sorts of science backing it up these days. So that's all I got for you on this subject. Stick around if you are looking for ways to free yourself from some of these reacting out behaviors or from addiction entirely, because I've got a really cool resource coming up for you right after this. Until I see you next time, stay curious. Hello, my friend. As you know, I love getting to put together free resources for you for being your best self and living your best life. And this one is a great one because it is super fast and it is super simple. I am going to give you the secret for living a satisfying life in just 7 minutes. Click on the link below to get that right to your inbox immediately.